What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. Today, proud to say I can mark myself safe from Bowman Draft 2024. This went up for pre-sale on Topps' website noon on Thursday. It did end up selling out as of time of recording. It took probably a good 3 to 4 hours, maybe. I don't know the exact sellout time. I feel like when I checked around 4 o'clock when I got home from work, they had gotten wiped out. Box prices were pretty wild. A hobby box, 3 autos, 12 packs per box, $520. Jumbo boxes or super jumbo, whatever the hell they call these things. It's 5 packs. I think it's really 10 packs. They're like the double packs or whatever. $740. You get 5 autographs per box. I believe this is a little bit of a bump up from last year's prices. One thing to note, no Tom Brady chase in this one. Remember, 2023 Bowman Draft had the Brady chase. That product has actually aged pretty well, just looking back in time a little bit. On 2023 Bowman Draft, you have the Brady chase. Obviously, that product is anchored by Paul Skeens, Wyatt Langford, and Max Clark. Now, Max Clark hasn't done anything in the majors yet. Wyatt Langford came up, kind of busted. He did not have a great season, played better in the second half. I actually kind of like him as a bounce back candidate. But Skeens ended up being the major chase out of that product. So these go up, and listen, I am no Bowman expert. I think everything I can understand from various people that I've talked to, and I've heard both the checklist is garbage, the checklist is mediocre, it's the best checklist you've ever seen in 1,000 years. The general trend seems to be that it is a good checklist. Some people won't say it's outstanding, some will. You're going to get a mixed bag on this stuff, but generally speaking, it seems like it is a positive checklist. They did hold back Charlie Connon, one of the top picks in the draft, plays for the Rockies, going to be an absolute monster most likely. He'll probably be in 2025 Bowman or Bowman, whatever. He'll be in a future Bowman product. Bazana, the Cleveland Indians top prospect, is one of the bigger chases, and there is a handful of other guys. I'm blanking on the Royals guy's name. Caglione, I think, was another top prospect, and then there are a lot of other guys in here as well. For me personally, with the Indians having the #1 pick and taking Travis, I was interested in possibly chasing some of this stuff. I knew it was going to be expensive because it's draft. It went up for sale. I made sure I was in a position to buy around noon. Refreshed, it was up. I looked at it. I saw the prices. I did some quick math between the two boxes. Poked around a little bit. I added a hobby box to my cart. I started checking out, and I said, no, I'm not doing this. I am not going to spend, basically, I mean, we can round up a little bit here, with tax and everything. Let's just call it $550. It could be a little bit more, a little bit less, whatever. I was not going to spend $550 on a box of Bowman Draft for 3 autos for the potential chase of one player. I mean, obviously there's other players in there to chase, for the potential flip, resale, whatever, but one player that I was particularly interested in being, the Indians' top prospect. So I was a responsible hobby participant, and I left it sitting in my cart. Sold out, but you can still see it. My little red dot up there. That's the one box I added to my cart that never got checked out. And to be honest, you can say what you will about the prices. I was curious at what other boxes are going for. 2023, the Super Jumbo boxes, like I said, loaded class, Skeens, Tom Brady chase, currently sitting at 1.2K. Regular jumbo boxes, $900. Now, it's kind of a unicorn product, like I said. The 2022 Bowman, a much more normal class, good class, but no one's really like completely jumped out. That's Jackson Holiday is in that class, but he's obviously had a mixed career so far. Even with that, super jumbos are just over 1K. Jumbos are at about $600. So pretty close to where this one released at. But also remember 2022, I don't remember the exact prices. I'm sure someone in the comments do, was probably a significantly cheaper starting point. I could be wrong on that. Please correct me if I am. But I said no. $600 was too much for me to pull the trigger on. And I saw a lot of negative pushback on the prices of these. Now, that being said, they were gone in about 3 to 4 hours. Took a little bit longer than I thought to sell out, but they sold out. And here's the thing. You can like it or not. This is probably, unless the product collapses, unless the checklist collapses, this is probably going to be the cheapest you're going to be able to get it for a long time. Unless it just straight tanks. Generally speaking, and I have confirmed this with multiple shops, the pre-order prices that you see on these big tentpole Topps products, when they put the pre-order prices up, those are typically about, give or take, 10%-ish more than what they end up getting sold to shops and breakers for on the initial solicitation. So, to go back to this one for a minute, shops might pay around, let's call it $450, $460 for a box of hobby. And like, let's just call it $650, give or take $660-ish for a super jumbo, whatever you want to call that thing. So they basically have 10% margin on that. That's not a lot of room. And what they've done in the past, you know, we talked about this with Topps Chrome Basketball on that release. The initial ask is that 10% below the pre-order price. And then on the reload, if you want the second hit, they up the price to market price in a lot of cases, or closer to market price, maybe 10, 15% below market price. So even if the product takes off, if the shop can order more, they're usually paying an inflated price, which is exactly what the distribution places used to do prior to Topps taking, or Fanatics taking over. Fanatics is just keeping the money in house is all. That's all. It's simple business. I get it. So that's kind of where we sit right now with Bowman Draft. And this is one of the biggest releases of the year for baseball product, typically. And they know it'll sell. Because even if people like me that would like to open a box, and I can afford to open a box. This is not a matter of, you know, do I want to spend $600? I have the $600. That is not a problem. If I want to spend $600 on a box of cards, I absolutely will. I just chose not to go in this direction on it. But they're going to sell it anyway because they know the breakers could take it and microtransact it. And the degens will want to chase, and they could keep the price high because the breakers split up the cost of the box. Is what it is. It's the world that we currently live in. It is the world that we currently live in. So it did eventually sell out. I'm sure a lot of, you know, sure some individuals purchased it. I bet you a lot of the sales went to shops, breakers, people that don't have allocation, etc. And we'll see what happens when the product comes out and releases, and then obviously how it ages depending on the draft class. But there seemed to be a little bit more pushback on the price point on this one. Maybe it's just because it's recency bias. I don't know. Maybe it's not actually the case. But like I said, I had it in my cart. I looked at it and I said, nah. You know, what really switched me was, you know, this is almost $600. I can buy cases of, a decent amount of modern Pokemon sets for close to 600, maybe slightly over. Surging Sparks just came out. I had a case pre-ordered at basically $100 a box. That's the newest release. That is an absolute steal because that product's gone wild. That's a topic for a second video. But regardless, you could get a case of most new release Pokemon products for around 600 bucks. Now, I'm never going to open that, so there is the enjoyment experience of sitting down with a box, ripping it, etc. But from a put money in the wax perspective, I would much rather take my chances on a case of Pokemon product than Bowman Baseball. Now, you might think that's crazy, and in some cases it may or may not be, but I would be willing to take my bets on the Pokemon case over the long haul. In the short term, the Bowman might outperform it. Who knows right now? Pokemon is absolutely crazy. Magic Foundations releases this week. Collector boxes are going for $280 to $290 on the secondary market. My LGS is selling them for $220. I bought 2 boxes the other day on pre-order. I'll pick those up this weekend. I thought to myself, would I rather buy a box of this to rip and chase, or buy like 3 more boxes of Foundations, or buy a couple more boxes of Surging Sparks? And I decided to go that way and pass on Bowman Draft. There was an opportunity cost. I had the money to spend $600 in cards. I'm just choosing to spend it in a different place than Bowman Draft. And that's with my favorite team, favorite baseball team, having the #1 pick with the top prospect in the product. Now, what I might do is I might use this as an opportunity to finally spend my Loop and Fanatics Live break credit. I have like 200 and some bucks in Loop credit from PSA from like a year ago. I logged in the account. It's still there. And I have $110 in Fanatics Live credit just sitting there burning a hole in my pocket. So I might, I don't know for sure yet, use those credits to buy into my first breaks ever for Cleveland Indians spots. Well, in the break, it'll be Guardians spots in 2024 Bowman Draft, and see what happens. I feel like this is the perfect opportunity because I have the break credit to cover at least a small fraction of the cost, or a part of the cost to use. And Bowman seems like, if you're going to buy into a break of a product, if you can get into a case break or something, seems like the one to get into. The only problem is the Indians are probably going to be expensive because they had the #1 pick in the draft. So they're going to be one of the more expensive teams to buy on the break. So we'll see what happens. If I decide to go down that path, you could guarantee I will make some content talking about it, about how the experience went, what I spent, what I got, the whole 9 yards. We'll see. That's still TBD. The other thing that I weighed on the purchase side of things, and we'll wrap things up here, Topps Chrome update comes out very shortly. For the money, I would rather, and this might not be smart from a rip perspective or from a value perspective or whatever, I feel like I would rather put that money towards Topps Chrome update and rip, like, you know, a handful of hobby boxes or 2 jumbo boxes or whatever the case might be of Topps Chrome update than Bowman Draft. This is kind of where my headspace is at. Or if I'm smart, just go buy more Pikachus and Charizards. So, curious for your thoughts. Did you buy any? Did you pre-order any Bowman Draft? Are you chasing anyone out of Bowman Draft? Are you going to buy in the breaks? Are you going to buy boxes? What are you going to do? That's all I got. Catch boys and girls in the next one. Peace.